It's 5:30 and family time.
Good evening, good evening. Thank you, Sir Derval. Blessings to you, and welcome once again, everyone, to what we call family time. And it's a Monday. Once you hear family time, you know it's going to be a Monday evening, a Monday afternoon. Of course, I am O'Neill Campbell, and it's always a pleasure to be with you on another Monday. I've been away for some time, but of course, there's always some amazing co hosts that jump on each and every week. And so let's have another wonderful program today. So, good evening again, and welcome to those on Facebook and, of course, YouTube Live. And this, again, is Family Time. It's about your issues and your relationships, your at home family, your community family, and your global family. Family Time, of course, is produced by Family Life Ministries. And our aim is to enable healthy families, which will lead to healthy nations. So stay with us and please join via all our platforms: Facebook, YouTube, which are, of course, live, and Instagram. Again, I'm O'Neill Campbell, and this evening we're speaking with a resident insurance financial guru. Yes, that is who she is, about laws of contract. Don't worry, we'll explain what that is and more. But in the meantime, throughout the program, ask us any question relating to insurance. Of course, any questions relating to insurance, you can throw that at us and send those questions to WhatsApp. You can do that by text or voice note. I'll make it no longer than 30 seconds, please. And that number is 876-997-3125. That's 876-997-3125. Call our studio lines at 876-968-8327 or 876-968-8328 to join us. You can also watch us and comment live on Love 101 Facebook and on YouTube. We'll be right back with a very special guest, financial advisor, my par, Shernet Clark. Please don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Get ready for a melodic morning inside Love in the Morning with your host, Jakal Dyer. This Thursday, July 13. Listen throughout the show for tips on how to become the best version of who you are in the feature, Becoming You. Grab your cup of coffee and start the day right with Morning Coffee Pick Me Up devotional at 6 a.m. Then, at 7 a.m., we bring you the Morning Watch with intriguing and thought-provoking discussions. 8:40 a.m., we take it up a notch inside How Would You React? With scenarios and situations that would make you stop and wonder, what would I do? 9:30 a.m. is Voice of Power, brought to you by the Power Faith Ministries. Stick and stay with us this Take Me Back Thursday inside Love in the Morning, 5 a.m. to 10 a.m. on the family station, Love 101.
It's alright, just wake up.
Get ready for another inspiring show this Testimony Tuesday inside Alive 1 to 5, July 11, packed with inspirational stories and Allen-flavored music. 1:45, we bring you the brain testing meant to size listeners pick edition. Stick around the prayer blast at 2 o'clock as we ring in the prayer bells of heaven. 2:15 inside the evidence, we share with you another powerhouse testimony boasting about the power of God. Then at 3 p.m., we go behind the pulpit for another anointed minister's story. All this and more will come alive 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. July 11th with yours truly, Sarah Amber Chirpy One, on the family station, Love 101, celebrating 30 years of music, family, and love.
Of course, welcome back. Welcome back to Family Time on Love 101. You see me smiling, you will know why in a short moment. Welcome to our very special guest this evening. Boy, I tell you, financial advisor, insurance guru, all those fancy things. Shernet Clark, she's a very special guest. I would say, how are you, Shernet? But I don't, guys, if you know, if we had an quick off-air conversation, guess what? every time that she comes on, you know that I have to be there. So once you hear that Shirley Clark is coming on as the iconic advisor, you know, so O'Neill Campbell have to present himself. But you see, after our little quick conversations, I don't know if it's going to happen again. It basically on thin ice, right? I'm going to leave it at that, right? She's in hot water. She's in the naughty corner, but I'll leave that for another time. So, for the sake of the program and trying to be kosher and behave myself, Miss Shirley Clark, how are you doing this afternoon?
O'Neill, I am doing great. And publicly, guys, I'm going to be asking him genuinely to forgive me because I think it doesn't happen to me only. When it comes to WhatsApp, guys, and you can give me a feedback, sometimes we forget to save the number of the person, right? Because we are having constant conversation. So sometimes you do forget. And, until some of your friends probably communicate with you outside of when them know say, come on, maybe you will save them if the contact is consistent, but then it can be the judge of the relationship. But I'm happy to be here, and I was excited about seeing that you were hosting. So yes, you are indeed my friend, and it's a pleasure always to speak to your viewers, your listeners, and hopefully most of them will become clients of mine.
Okay, yes, and I agree. No problem at all. She's getting brownie points, but I'll see how many brownie points she gets at the end of the program. Now, of course, she is, as we said, our resident financial advisor. And today, guys, we have some serious matters that we want to speak to. One of the things that is actually something that I've not done as yet, and so I know she's going to be bearing down on that, because one of the areas that we have to focus on is something that we just easily overlook or don't think about, but it's actually something very critical. And so that is one of the things we're going to be touching on today. So, of course, as I stated, she's a financial advisor, a resident financial advisor. Now, remember, of course, we want you to communicate with us, contact us, our audience, ask us questions regarding anything about insurance. She is more than able to answer. WhatsApp and text your messages via text or voice notes, I should say, no longer than 30 seconds to 876-997-3125. You can also watch us and comment live on Love 101 Facebook and YouTube, or call the studio lines, as I stated, 968-8327, 968-8328. Oh, no, I said 927 and 28, sorry, to participate. And, of course, time does fly when we are always communicating and in contact. Now, one other thing, boy, I'm sweating bullets, and even though the fun is on me, but how's the weather treating you?
Well, I just keep rehydrating. I actually have a cup of ice right next to me because it is extremely hot. I gone back to the bag juice and the icicle or snow cone.
Yes.
It is vital that we keep hydrated. I noticed I saw earlier this morning that the Sahara dust is back in the Caribbean. So yeah, we have to make sure that we're putting on our sunscreen, our sunblock, and make sure we're hydrating, because the heat alone, you're sleepy, persons are having frequent headaches, and that's a sign of dehydration.
Definitely. So let's get right into it, resident guru. No, just give the quick basics about the contract. So what's a contract and what is meant by laws of contract, etc., etc.
All right. So a contract is a written or oral agreement between two or more parties. So it is creating a mutual obligation, then an agreement. So all of us agreeing that we are intended to come into an agreement or a contract that is enforceable by law. So it's a legal binding document between parties. So it can be two or more. Now, where the laws of contract comes under contract, now there has to be an offer. An offer meaning that somebody has to put out something. And then there has to be an acceptance. On the other side, somebody has to accept the offer. And there has to be consideration and the intent to create that legal relationship, again, that is enforceable in law. So one party must offer to enter into that agreement, and the other party must accept the terms of the offer. So you going into a supermarket and things that are being displayed on the shelves, that's an open offer. That is different from a contract now. So it's there being displayed, or pick up what you can afford or what you desire. That doesn't come under the laws of contract. And the consideration now is something of value. So it has to be something that is valuable to me who is receiving it, or a promise to convince a party to agree to that deal. Then it has to be beneficial to me, has to be of value. And then the contractual capacity now, where consideration, competent parties, both parties must be competent to enter into that agreement. So you must be 18 years or over to enter into a contractual agreement. You must be able, in terms of the right mind capacity, it can be someone of unsound mind to enter into a contract. Now, the legality now, the contract aspect now, in terms of the intention, the contract purpose must be to accomplish some goal that is legal and not against public policy. So it's enforceable by law, so it must not be against public policy. And the genuineness of so the apparent consent of both parties must be genuine. And of course, the agreement must be in whatever form. So example, as I said before, written or under seal, which is or the law requires, so oral. So those are the laws of contract, and that's what a contract constitutes.
Sorry, you mentioned oral.
Yeah, it can be oral, or for it to be enforceable, though, all parties have to be in agreement. But we're speaking of written contracts today.
Right, because
and
I was just saying
are mostly recognized are written contracts.
Right, because I was just thinking, I mean, obviously I'm far removed from that type of thing, but it seems as if sometimes oral can be tricky because...
And it can be because oral is really the intent to enter into the agreement. So we can agree.
Which eventually becomes written.
Exactly.
Right. So yeah, that's why I think maybe oral is penciled as opposed to being made, in terms of pen and written in stone, so to speak.
Correct.
Right. All right. I don't know would you like to tackle a question that has come up, or you want to continue to go and lay the foundation first?
You decide. I guess if the question is relevant, no, go ahead with the question. You have one?
Yes, there's a question from WhatsApp says, please explain as much as possible. So motor insurance, particularly in terms of what obtains when there has been a motor vehicle road accident. So that
sounds more like a claim, and then I would have to see the terms of the contract. So it cannot be a general thing. And again, when we move on to the other questions that we have for you, may understand it a little different, because you would have signed a contract as it relates to an insurance policy or claim, and you have to make sure that the terms that are laid out in that contract, that you understand them when you were signing to that document. So I'm not sure of the terms, because guess what? That contract is between you and the insurance company. And if there was a lawyer present in terms of the claim, then you would have to know the terms and maybe you need to have a lawyer. And we're going to talk about that. Look at your contract with that insurance company. Wouldn't be able to state that because I would have to see the terms.
Right. So basically, the person who has asked that question, and thank you for that question on WhatsApp, it's basically not one size fits all. It does depend on the insurer or the insurance company you're working with, and they are very, very...
And the insured.
Numerous companies, and they have different terms and conditions, and you have to adhere to. And depending on what the situation is, as I said, whatever the vehicle accident is, there are various things that takes place as well. And so many variables can be answered in terms of giving a full-scale response. So if there's and even if you're going to need to specific, Ms. Clark would have to actually see what is going on in that contract to make a proper determination. So of course, you can always reach out to her. All right, so you know what? We're still laying the foundation. We're basically up on a break. Let's take a quick break, and then we'll get right back into the thick of it. All right, so let's go to a quick break and join us in a short order.
Get the formula for CXC and CAPE exams at Distinction College, located at 26 Hadley Park Road, Kingston, 6 Nugent Street, Spanish Town, and Ocho Rios. Start day, evening, and Saturday classes in over 30 subjects this coming term, and sit exams in January and May with learning resources such as computers, science labs, and much more. Lowest fees. Register this week and get an entire term free. Win scholarships and a 10% discount. Pay for 3 subjects, get 1 free. Pay for 5 subjects and get 2 subjects free. Or get a skill or course free. Call us 356-4167.
I could be you,
Or me,
a member of the family, brother, sister, mother.
a member of your community, pastor, policeman, neighbor.
I could be you, but for me, every door says no entry.
Nobody is their HIV status. Come on, join us.
After all, I could be you. Join us.
Join us. Let's work together to stop HIV discrimination. Be a champion for change. A message from the National Family Planning Board.
Here's why you can't afford to miss the Morning Watch.
I love listening to the Morning Watch because topics are discussed and issues are highlighted that are of major importance, which in turn edify me.
The Morning Watch, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays.
I like listening to the Morning Watch. I find it very informative. I find it very interesting. The topics that are covered are very, very wide.
The Morning Watch, thought-provoking, insightful, current. Listen for the probing questions with Attorney at Law Stokely Marshall and the in-depth discussion with Reverend Dr. Dallin Toussaint. On Tuesdays, the Morning Watch is brought to you by Holtz Hardware, the leader in electrical building and everything for the home, and the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, achieving prosperity through partnership and development. The Morning Watch, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. The Morning Watch is on the family station, Love 101.
Hate long wait times at the pharmacy? Me too! Well, I found Marshall's Pharmacy, located at Pathfinder Plaza, Greater Portmore. Great customer service, shorter wait times, all the local and international brands I want, plus print services powered by Print Corner. WhatsApp your prescriptions to 876-491-7841 and follow them on Instagram at Marshall's Pharmacy. Visit Marshall's Pharmacy in Greater Portmore today. They're open late every day, even on public holidays.
Cubby's Baby Wipes is ideal for your baby's delicate skin, infused with vitamin E and aloe vera, and available for home or on the go. The time by Cubby's Baby Wipes is
Welcome back to Family Time, of course, on Love 101. That was a quick intermission, and we're back on track. So we'll be tackling, of course, some more questions, and just laying the foundation about what contracts are and rules of contracts and so on. And of course, we have our resident insurance guru, the iconic advisor herself, Shernette Clark, who is still trying to make amends for her misdemeanors when it comes to our good relationship that she's affecting me. But that's for another show. Yes, so let me just quickly highlight that, of course, unfortunately, we won't be having Reverend Mike today. There's no WTF. It's a wonderful little segment, but we won't be having it this week. And of course, our time is now 5:48 p.m. So we will pick up where we left off. So, Ms. Clark, you were laying the foundation in terms of laws of the contract and what is meant by that. Can you list some rules of the contracts and why are these rules important?
Well, before I move on, guess what?
Right, before you move on.
Contact created. O'Neill is now a listed contact.
People that should have been done. Let's not even go there, right?
And I want to.
She owes me.
I owe you. I do owe you. And I want to reemphasize the question that came in on WhatsApp. Yes. I would recommend that that person get a lawyer involved. And if the lawyer is not yet involved, then you need, have someone look at that document, because I'm not an attorney at law. I am a financial advisor. I know about contracts, but in terms of understanding the terms in the contract, you need to have an attorney at law look at that if you're not getting a favorable response from the insurance company. That being said, the insurance, why are the rules important? Based on the 5 elements that were listed above: the offer, the acceptance, the consideration, all of those. If those elements don't exist, of course, a contract has to be a document that is signed, one that is dated. So all parties involved, there must be a signature that is attached. and of course dated with all the other elements that I've mentioned before, and I'll mention them again.
Right.
The offer, the acceptance, the consideration, and the intention to create that legal relation. Once, if those are not a part of your contract, then it is not binding. A contract does not exist, and it is not enforceable by law.
Say those again. Sorry.
By the courts.
Sorry to interject. Say those again. So what are the key components? You said an offer?
So yes, the offer. So if the elements don't exist, so of course a dated document, and of course signatures must be attached by the parties involved, the person who is making the offer and the person that is accepting the offer, if there are more than one. The consideration, which is, I mentioned before, the consideration is something of value that you are receiving, or a promise to convince a party to agree to a deal. So anything of value, whether it is a house, whether it is your insurance policy, something is being offered to you in exchange for your signature, in exchange for your agreement, and the intention to create this legal relation now. So on the document, we have decided that I offered you this, you're accepting what I'm offered, the consideration, and we're signing to that intent. Once those elements exist, or if they don't exist, these are the rules, then there is no binding contract and it is not enforceable in the courts. So you don't have a valid contract. So that's the first rule.
Got you.
And that's the only rule. Once those elements exist, then it is enforceable and it's legally binding.
All right.
And of course, I mentioned it has to be someone that is not capacitated or of unsound mind or under 18 years. So once those elements don't exist, then you have a valid contract.
All right. So hopefully that is understood. And if you didn't get it the first or second time, then you can always play this back and you will hear exactly what is stated in terms of this particular video or this particular segment, subject matter that we're covering. All right. So question is asked, does my insurance contract come under my will or estate? And what is the will or estate? What is all of this about?
So your insurance policy, again, falls under the laws of contract. And that's why I wanted to make it clear what a contract was. You receive, well, some companies may have a blue document that is given to you, which is your contract. So the terms in the contract would stipulate the coverage, your insurance policy, when was it issued, your name, any other stipulation, your beneficiary information, and about the product that you're purchasing. You would have signed to receive that contract because you would have completed the application process. Now you're receiving the contract under the terms in which you have agreed to. That contract comes under the laws of contract because it's a signed document with named beneficiary or beneficiaries. So it does not come under your estate. Your estate, let me make it clear before I move on with the laws of contract, is examples of your bank accounts, investment, real estate, your furniture, artwork, jewelry. It could be a business or a corporation. And of course, vehicles, computer, your phone, and any other debts that are outstanding where the deceased is concerned. So those fall under your estate. And that is where you need to create a will for those. Now, the insurance policy comes under the laws of contract because an offer was given to you regarding to your sum insured or your death benefit or your face amount. You have agreed to the amount and signed to that agreement, and now a contract has been considered between you and that insurance company. Right. The intent is also clear, and it's a binding document. It's a legal document. Now, because it falls under the laws of contract, whatever you place in that contract to say Shernette Clark is my beneficiary and she should receive 100% of the proceeds from my policy, that is who it is going to. So it doesn't fall under your will where the lawyer has to do the probating process, or if there was no will, in the case with your other estate, it would fall under the administration where the government decides who gets what.
Right.
Your insurance policy goes straight to the person that you intended to have the proceeds to deal with your final expenses, your funeral, etc. Once you name a beneficiary, There is no stipulation who the person is. It goes to that person. Now, your estate, no, the difference is that the estate will come under a will if there's a will that exists. And if there's no will, as I had mentioned before, it falls under not the interstate where the government, no, the appoints and the courts appoints an administration to deal with those. Now, the will stipulates what you want to happen after your passing, after your demise, after you're not able to do anything. So death has occurred. And what the will does is a written document now. So this is a written document in which you have created a testator, you have your executor, and you have your 2 or more executive. This document is also dated and signed, and it allows individual to direct their inheritance, which they decide if it's a spouse get it, or children get it, or auntie get it, or a charity gets it, and that is distributed according to what you wish. Again, the insurance policy, you decide who the beneficiary goes. It doesn't go through the probating process, so no lawyer is responsible for that. It doesn't go through the courts because you have named a beneficiary, whether it is a person or whether it is a charity. Now, the estate, if there is no will go to whomever. Say, how they'll do it is their spouse exists, they'll probably give the spouse, and if they're children, then they'll move in that line. No spouse, no children, then they move to the nearest next of kin. So if you don't want that to happen and you want it to go to a specific person, then a will must be created.
Understood. All right. So hopefully that is crystal clear. Remember, ask us any questions regarding insurance. We're looking forward to your responses, of course. WhatsApp, text, and voice notes, 30 seconds or less, to 876-9973125. You can also view us on Love 101 Facebook and YouTube live. Call the studio lines 876-968-8327 or 876-968-8328 to participate. And I'm sure Sharonet will be more than happy to respond to your queries. Also, please note that FLM's head office in Kingston, their number is 920-1034, 926-8101. And when we'll be sure to repeat that at the end of the program. All right, so before we are approaching another break, but let's look at a few other things. You mentioned the lawyer earlier, and I'm not sure if the person who messaged on WhatsApp had a lawyer. I was gonna ask you why based on what you read, you thought there was a need for a lawyer, or maybe you're saying just generally any kind of incident you need a lawyer. So what's your response?
In terms of the insurance policy, a lawyer is not necessarily needed, but your advisor, in my case, I have a team of persons that I would work with. So the team of persons would be an attorney at law, of course, a real estate agent. So anything that my clients need in terms of insurance, in terms of real estate, in terms of an attorney, whether a situation they're going through and advice, I'm able to pick somebody out of my team to say, speak to this person in that regard. So your lawyer is important for your will, but how do you have to tell a lawyer that you have an insurance policy? No and yes, no meaning, because it doesn't fall under your will, they don't have to deal with any probating and find out who the insurance policy should go to. What you can speak to your lawyer about is that my insurance policy exists to deal with, because probating can take up to years, the probating of the will, especially if there are matters in the will. One strike of a pen or the dot of a pen could change the meaning of your will. Because it could be that you intended to write this word, or the stroke cause a T instead of a L. Mm-hmm. And it can cause problem in terms of your will being invalid. So in terms of you discussing that with you can say, well, if the probating process takes longer, there's enough money on my insurance policy. So if my beneficiary is X, and they would probably know who the beneficiaries are, to deal with my funeral, to deal with transfer tax and stamp duty. If under your estate there's housing between you and any party and they need to deal with transfer tax or stamp duty, if there are any outstanding debts, and also if it is that you need to pay the lawyer fees and your executor's fee. So the insurance policy normally is available between 48 hours, depending on if everything has been submitted, all is clear. Sometimes maybe up to 2 weeks, but I'm sure it would be ready before your proceeds of your will. If there are any monies in the account, if there is none, then the insurance policy is available to deal with those expenses, not
All
just
right.
debt.
Let's take a pin. There's so much more to speak about. All right, we're going to go to another break, and then we'll come right back and pick up right where we left off. Again, join us shortly as we take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Are you ready for a prophetic encounter? Join the Gifted Network for the National Prophetic Summit, July 14 to 15 at the Ambassadors, 63 Hadley Park Road, Kingston, featuring special guests, Prophet Lovi Elias, pastor and founder of Revelation Church LA, Prophets Chambry and Jaquan Gamble, and more. Be a part of this unforgettable event. 2 power-packed days of dynamic prophetic teachings. The National Prophetic Summit, July 14 to 15, Kingston. Get your tickets and learn more at thegiftednetwork.net or WhatsApp 876-404-2535.
I could be you,
Or me,
a member of the family, brother, sister, mother.
a member of your community, pastor, policeman, neighbor.
I could be you, but for me, every door says no entry.
Nobody is their HIV status. Choma, join us.
After all, I could be you. Join us.
Join us. Let's work together to stop HIV discrimination. Be a champion for change. A message from the National Family Planning Board.
Get ready for another inspiring show this Testimony Tuesday inside Alive 1 to 5, July 11, packed with inspirational stories and Alan flavored music. 1:45, we bring you the Rain Testing Meant to Size Listener's Pick Edition. Stick around the prayer blast at 2 o'clock as we ring in the prayer bells of heaven. 2:15 Inside the Evidence, we share with you another powerhouse testimony boasting about the power of God. Then at 3 p.m., we go behind the pulpit for another anointed minister's story. All this and more will come alive 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. July 11 with yours truly, Sarah Amber Chirpy One, on the family station Love 101, celebrating 30 years of music, family, and love.
Welcome back to Family Time. It is 2 minutes past the hour of 6 p.m. in, I would say cool Jamaica, but it's not so cool right now. warm Jamaica. And we're speaking with our resident insurance agent, or advisor, I should say. So you should see me talking it already, agent for everybody, right? Sharon Clark. And we're going to pick up right where we left off. Our topic today, of course, is laws of contract. And so you're speaking about insurance policy, and well, you mentioned at one point, you know, would my insurance basically would be going to persons have to be careful about, you know, what that is about. One stroke of the pen can invalidate a contract, etc., etc. Speaking about that, can I change my beneficiary, and how do I go about doing that? And can I have more than one person in that regard regarding my insurance, and also in terms of the will you spoke about, you know, all of that little breakdown. And you did mention also, well, yes, you did speak to if I pass away before that is done in terms of the will, then that goes to the you said government estate.
All right, so let me retract. So as it relates to the stroke of the pen, it was regarding to the will, not the insurance policy.
Regarding to the will, okay, yes.
Because why I mentioned that there are persons who didn't use an attorney at law to create that will or to assist them with the process of the will, because we can get will form in most of our bookstores, and persons opt for that option, saving some costs, getting a form, writing up the things, and then guess what? There are the stroke of a pen, or they didn't date it, or they didn't sign each page. Because if it is that you put, let's say you list your house and your bank account on this front page, and you sign at the bottom of that front page, but then you remember you had some additional items and you wrote it at the back in terms of if it's a 2-page will, but you only sign the bottom of where the first list was.
First one, right.
The things that are at the front will be probated under the will. But you see the ones at the back that has no date, those will go through the administration where they will appoint an attorney, the government, and of course, again, decide who gets those items.
Wow.
So that's why I encourage that you get an attorney and
Yeah,
to
to
make
go through.
sure that there are 2 witnesses, and you have to make sure that those witnesses are not beneficiaries on the will. So there are other laws as it governs to the will. So you want to make sure that it's dated. You want to make sure that there's an executor. You want to make sure that there are 2 or more witnesses. We prefer 3, because if one passes on or you can't find one of them, then we know we still have 2 witnesses. And you want to make sure that everything that you intend and who to distribute it to is included in that will and sign.
Got you.
So hence I said the stroke of a pen, you may have wanted to put the word L, but because you lift up your hand, it tick a L, and it meant it becomes another word. So you want to make sure that it is done properly. Hence I mentioned that part.
Let me just throw this in. Can a will be typed up and then signed, or does it have to be handwritten?
No, it can be handwritten or typed. So
Okay.
whatever way, and sometimes typing is probably, depending on your ink, it probably may last a little longer. I'm not sure. We can double check based on the ink, but it doesn't matter if it's typed or written, but it must be dated, and it must be witnessed, and it must be signed.
Got you. All right. So we spoke about we're talking in the part about changing the beneficiary. How do you go about that? And that's, of course, I guess, for the insurance aspect.
That's easy in terms of changing your beneficiary. You want to make sure, and there are 2 ways in changing your beneficiary. I have indicated a beneficiary for some reason, whether it's I'm now divorced, or the person I realize is not responsible anymore, or I have gotten married and want to add the new husband. Whatever the situation is, there is a cost attached, and you would just have that amount pay. Submit the person's full name, middle, first name, last name, date of birth, and the amount you want to allocate for that person. Have it signed by a JP and stamped, and submit that, and you're good to go. That can be done within a day. 3 business days the most I've seen in terms of us changing, and you're good to go.
Got you. All right. So let's look at, is there, first of all, before we get into a few more questions, is there anything else you wanted to kind of tie up before we moved on? Anything that you thought you need to cover, or we're good to go?
There's another way too. Let's say, for example, you have a beneficiary that passed on, predeceased you. That does not attract a cost. You're just replacing the person. So what would suffice is that we would need a copy of the death certificate and the new person's information, again, first, middle, last name, date of birth, relationship to you, and the amount allocated to them, and we're good to go again.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
What can prevent a beneficiary from getting proceeds outside of passing away? Proceeds from policy. What breaches may take place within a particular contract?
So there is where the laws of contract come in. And again, offer, acceptance, and consideration, and the intent. This is where the intent comes in now. I have been exposed to an experience, and listen carefully. A brother wanted to insure his sister with a critical illness coverage policy. He specified critical illness coverage. The insured would have been approached and asked the question, have you ever been diagnosed with cancer? No, the answer was no. Have you been exposed to anything that could be potentially cancerous? An example, abnormal pap smear, abnormal mammogram, and the answer was no. So the contract was created, right? So she was insured for $3 million for said critical illness coverage insurance. The brother was the payer, and he's also the only beneficiary on the policy. 2 years later, sister passes on, as a result of cancer. When the histology report was presented to the insurance company, it was revealed that the insured, which was the client, the sister who passes on, was diagnosed with cancer 2 years before the contract was created. That's a breach of contract. The insured, which was the client, has lied. She would have been aware that she had cancer because there's a histology report. She has been going to the doctor for said cancer. However, if she had indicated that she had cancer already diagnosed, there's another policy that she could have received in the event of death. Her brother would have received the proceeds. Now, when he approached the insurance company, of course, with the histology report, with his claim form, with the contract, with IDs, everything was in place for him to get the proceeds, but was told he could not because the insured, your sister, the deceased, lied on the application. So the application was even brought up because he contested the application, and the application was brought forward because it's archived, but it was brought forward to show that she said no, and it was signed by her. His response was, I didn't know. It's not me lie. It's she lie, so I should still get the money. No, the policy covered the insured, not the beneficiary. And if she had been truthful, she would have received another policy and he would have gotten whatever that amount would have been. So a breach of contract, any lie on the contract can cause that contract to be breached, and a beneficiary can't. I don't know of any other circumstance where a beneficiary hasn't received proceeds from a policy. Something in the contract was wrong.
Sorry, is there no way that the person who's actually paying for the policy can be made aware of the details within the policy? The person would have to, the sister would have to literally take it to him and say, hold this for me, brother. Or
well, he was the one who approached the company to insure her, so he knew she was dying.
No, right, no, but when she said no, he was unaware of those no's. He would have been unaware.
I'm not sure if he would have been, but remember, we're not insuring him, we're insuring her.
Right, so what I'm saying is, though she's insured and the document that is archived, would he be able to have been able to see anything in terms of the details of it at all?
He would not, unless he would have been there with her, because remember, if I'm insuring you, I'm not going to discuss your questions. Remember, it is a fiduciary relationship between an agent and a client. Right. I am not going to be discussing the answers to your question on an application, whether with a spouse or a child or a sibling.
Right.
So it is your duty as the insured, as the client, to listen to the question, think about the question, and answer truthfully.
Oh, that must have been the shocker.
But based on his approach to the company, he knew she had cancer. He specified critical illness coverage insurance. But if he had had an open discussion with the agent to say, here what, she has cancer, the cancer is back, and we don't know how long she has, what can I get for her when she passes on that I can deal with her final expenses? Have the honest, open discussion, because we are field underwriters, before it gets to the processing aspect. We have to answer to, I have clients who tell me no to certain questions, and when I send them to do a medical, those answers were different.
Right.
And it made me look as if I didn't do my due diligence in terms of the question, because the doctor discovered something else.
It almost seems as if, and of course, I'm just guessing here, or just making not accusing, I just don't know, but it would seem as if he was trying to benefit from the situation because he knew that her time was limited, but didn't, as he said, didn't have that open discussion with the insurance company to say, listen, this is the situation, and then they would give an appropriate policy for her situation. So I was like, her time is ticking. I can get X million dollars from that when she passes, and so both end up losing in that regard because
I have another situation, and I'm saying those are the two situations that I'm aware of that they did not get the proceeds from the insurance policy because of the lie in the contract, the breach of the contract.
Right. Wow.
So if you stayed asked a HIV question and you said no, and you were being diagnosed and being treated for that for years, you would have known that you have HIV. And again, we have policies for persons who have HIV. It's not that you can't get the insurance,
Right.
but if you're not honest with your agent and filling out the application, then you're going to be in trouble. Your beneficiaries are going to be in trouble, and we need to take into consideration that it is our responsibility to make that very clear. The intent
Got you.
of the contract.
All right, we're heading into our final break. This is Family Time live on Love 101, our Facebook and YouTube. It's produced by Family Life Ministries. For social media interaction, we wanted to ask the question, anything about insurance, and let us know on WhatsApp, text, or voice notes, 9973125, and also on YouTube, or you can call the studio lines 9688-327-8. Laws of contract is our topic, and we're speaking with Shernette Clark. We'll be right back for our final wrap-up of this conversation.
Get more room to plant your roots. Get more space for house and youth. More to build, buy and improve. More of your dreams coming true. NHD, raise the load limit. Anything you need, you have more to build it for real. And what you say? Now you get 7.5 million per person. 15 million with a companion. 21 million with your two family them. All NHD so you can get more to build, buy and improve. More of your dreams coming true.
NHD, giving you more.
We say welcome home. Caribbean Airlines, yeah. Back on the go again, back on the road again. It's time to fly and get away. Where we have no problems, it's just with friends and good vibes there. We restore, reset all the energy. Ready to reconnect with the family. And we do commitment to we people them. To we people them. We say welcome home. Tell them we say. We got Caribbean, we got Caribbean, we got Caribbean, we got Caribbean, everything the region, we got Caribbean, we got Caribbean.
Building your house and looking for everything in hardware from ground to roof? Save the hassle. It's Robinson and Sons Hardware, dedicated to giving you the best. Call Robinson and Sons Hardware 876-715-1724 or visit 18 West Palm Avenue, Port Antonio, Portland. If we don't have it, we'll get it for you. Robinson and Sons Hardware, Port Antonio, Portland, dedicated to giving you the best. 876-715-1724.
My Jamaican people, it's the third staging of the Jamaica Gospel Star Competition. Your votes will help to decide the 2023 winner. Tune in to CBM TV, PBCJ, and JCDC's Facebook and YouTube platforms for 3 nail-biting episodes Sunday, July 9, 16, and 23 at 8 p.m. to see your favorite gospel star. Then join us Thursday, August 3 at 7 p.m. to see who will take the title of Jamaica's next gospel star. Remember, vote for your favorite. This year's staging is powered by the Chase Fund.
Welcome back to Family Time on Love 101. We're speaking about laws of contract, and the time is 18 minutes past the hour of 6. And we're speaking to, of course, our resident insurance guru herself, Shernette Clark. So, Ms. Clark, let's pick right back up with, of course, limited time in terms of just a few more things that we'd like to cover. Let me ask this question. What happens if my policy has no beneficiaries?
Not possible. There has to be a named beneficiary.
That's a trick question.
Couple of years ago, that was allowed, and you could have just probably put estate on these insurance policy, but the FSC had changed that a couple of years ago, so that question would have been relevant a couple of years ago. But as I said before, there even for a policy that we have under the churches, it would have automatically gone to the church, but it's now required for the beneficiary the insured to decide or name the beneficiary. Not that it cannot be the church, but it has to be one that the insured now decide, this is where I want the funds to go for them to deal with my final expenses. But there has to be a named beneficiary, or it can go to a charity. And of course, if your beneficiaries are minors, you're going to need a trustee. So that person is entrusted to deal with the final expenses of these minors until they reaches, and there are 3 choices: age 18, 25, or 21. So you can decide when it is that you want the proceeds. If anything should happen to you before your children reach 18. And so it can be a spouse, it can be an aunt, it can be the older sibling. So you would decide who that trustee is.
Just quickly, if it is the church, then it has to be someone in the church or connected to the church, and then you go to them. How would that work?
That
Or
policy
that's not allowed.
that it's a
Anymore.
group policy, and it would be the person who is responsible for the so the administrator of the church or the pastor, whoever that
Right.
person is, but it would come under the church, and then that person who is responsible for the administration aspect of that policy would claim on behalf of that member. So how that plan came in, there were elderly members who were, and this plan benefit churches, and I encourage every church to do it, that you have some members in your church who probably don't have family members. And when they pass on, the church is normally responsible for burying that person. So the church have to find that funds. Or
Right.
them have to come back to the same members to raise funds to bury that member. Now, once that policy is in place, and it's called a church mate or church life, there's a new one. Then persons from 18 years up to age 80 now, we have that policy available. So it's the church gets the general contract then, and then each member would pay their premiums to the church, and then the church would make a check at the end of the renewal of the contract each year to the insurance company.
Okay. All right. So hopefully we're taking notes, and all of that information.
By the way,
Go
those
ahead.
plans are very affordable and don't require medical. So
You hear that?
take more church members.
All right. So that's something that usually don't take advantage of, and something that I don't think many know. So for churches out there, and there are numerous churches, right? There are many opportunities, and the funeral expense is more than an arm and a leg, right? It's like almost like you said, the whole body. So take advantage of these opportunities, and especially for persons, as you said, who are members, long-standing members who have been coming every time the church door open and the church door close. They are there to open and there to close. And they, as I said, they may have family members initially, but they passed on. These persons have been there and have continued to serve. And then at the end of the day, they're just all by themselves. So it's a great opportunity to, not to say benefit off of them, but to ease those expenses and offset those expenses. It may not cover everything, but at least it's something is better than zero.
Correct.
All right. So as we're approaching the wrap, quickly, anything else that you want to cover before you give us any tips or secrets that we may look at when it comes to, if there are tips and secrets to look at when it comes to this insurance and will situation?
Just basically, if you have an insurance policy, as for the person who had WhatsApp earlier and don't understand the terms of the contracts, discuss it, especially for insurance policy with your agent. I tell my clients all the time, once you read the contract, once you go through the contract, sometimes we may discuss it, but you look at it again and maybe a year or two afterwards, there are terms you don't understand. I can assist you. If I don't know the answer, I'll consult the persons that know how and respond to you. Now, you want to make sure that you have clarity in terms of the insurance policy, and just be truthful with your insurance agent, because we have your interest at heart. We're looking out for you. We're trying to get the policy for you.
Right.
As it relates to tips, your advisor can, as I said before, I have a team of persons. Let them have a team of persons, an attorney at law, a real estate agent for persons who are interested in real estate acquisition. Your life insurance can be used as real estate acquisition in terms of how that comes under contract. Now, you can use your policy as assignment to your mortgage. So you are going to be taking out a mortgage for 25 million. They're telling you that you need insurance. That is where your insurance comes in place, because if you pass on before you pay off that mortgage, that 25 million is covered under the insurance proceed. Words of advice: don't allow your policies to lapse, people. A policy that is lapsed cannot pay out any benefit to your beneficiaries. Once your policy lapse, contact your agent. There are ways to reinstate the policy. As a matter of fact, there's a reinstatement drive going on with my company that ends in October. and you want to make sure that you're reviewing your policies on an annual basis, write your will, get your attorney at law. If you have a will, make sure it is updated. If there are any changes in your life, as I said before, if you have gotten married recently, if you're divorced, if there are no children, you want to make sure that you're updating your will. Then again, call me 876-877-6130. I want all of you to become clients. Wanted to make sure that we're creating generational wealth, and we can do it through our insurance policies.
I have a question. Why we afraid? Why we don't have? Well, all right. Maybe it's for me too. Why are wills so infrequent? Why people are afraid to write wills or don't think about writing wills? Was it that we're not educated about it? Is it that we lack the knowledge? Is it that we just focusing? We think other things are more important? What is it?
That is one way. We think it's not important. And the second one is we think once you write a will, it means that I'm going to kick the bucket. Once you take out an insurance policy or similar to critical illness, once I have critical illness insurance for years, and once you take out, say I got diagnosed with cancer, nothing of the sort.
Right.
So the fallacies or the taboo that is placed on these things get us into trouble at the end. And anybody that doesn't have a will, what happens to them? The persons who they had intended to inherit what they work hard for have a fight getting to do so. And that's why we have people, families fighting each other over property, because there was nothing written down stipulating who gets what. People fight over crackery.
No, don't mess up with the good China. Hold on. So there's a couple questions here. Probably from the same person. Caroline is asking, is there a time frame in which a will must be read after a person's death?
Normally, the probating process it depends. It can take years, and years would mean money. But in terms of there's a time factor placed on. Let's say there's a property involved, and you need to deal with transfer tax and stamp duty. That needs to happen within a year. So that's where your insurance proceeds with help. The government says if it is not done within a year, it's 3% per annum that is added to the cost, which is the value, 3% of the value of the property.
Okay. All right.
So where the will is concerned, I would say 6 months to a year. Why would you want to hold on to a will longer than that?
All right. You have less than 45 seconds. How does a will get executed when read, especially in the case where property is left? I think you maybe touched something on that, but I'm not sure yet.
So once property is involved, again, you need to speak to the attorney who is going to be declaring that will valid. Once property is involved, it needs to fall under a will, because the owner of that estate needs to decide who is going to benefit from my inheritance, who is going to inherit that. So it needs to be, as I said before, what needs to be included in the will: properties, furnishing, your crockery, your jewelry, your car, your computer, your phones, everything else outside of your insurance policy, everything that you have acquired, that at death you would want to be giving it to somebody, unless you're going to give them before you die. But let's say you die without knowing. But as it relates to property, that would have to be passed off in written in terms of a gift now. You would have to change the aspects of your title. But if you're not able to do so, the will takes care of this aspect, and everything needs to be included in your will. It must be dated, and it must be witnessed 3 or more persons, and it must be signed.
All right. One quick tip or advice or encouragement before you go.
Well, I gave the tip already. Now call me. That's all I can tell you.
All right,
your questions will be answered. 876-877-6130. Shernet Higgins at gmail.com. Higgins. I'm on Facebook. I'm on YouTube. I'm on WhatsApp, and I'm on Instagram as Icon Sherns. Become clients. Become educated, because while in the process of becoming clients, you are also being edified in the process.
All right, that seals the deal. Look like you can do an MC. All right, so thank you so much.
I do MC work too, sir.
See that, but we're not gonna talk to you. If a WhatsApp is problem, thanks for being here with us as always. If you have any questions of a personal nature, or are concerned about a friend or family member, call us at Family Life Ministries. For more information on our services or for our counselors in Kingston and other parts of the island, contact our head office at 920-1034-926-8101. Please note that our Portmore FLM office is now closed, so all counseling matters should be referred to the Kingston office at 1 Cecilia Avenue, Kingston, or via our numbers just shared. You must call to make all appointments. Otherwise, to keep up to date with what's happening with FLM and our programs, find us on Facebook at FLM Family Life Ministries and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Family Life Ministries FLMJA. Before we go, our quick scripture lesson, Psalm 94, verses 18 to 19. When I thought, my foot slips, your steadfast love, O Lord, helped me up. When the cares of my heart are many, your consolations cheer my soul. Join us again next week at 5:30 p.m. on Love 101, Facebook and YouTube Live via Love 101 Facebook and Love 101 YouTube channel for another informative program. Thanks again to our very special guest, Shernette Clark. Thanks to our show producer, Kathy Gale, Open Door Communications, to the facilitator, Timoy Butler, and of course, to you, our wonderful audience. Stay well and stay blessed. Until next time, I'm O'Neill Campbell. Take care. Bye-bye for now.